started the recording and
Ophelia, will
now.
you please announce, member Tina Holt, this is Alma from the clerk's office. I've sent you a request to interact live. If you could please accept that request, so that will move you over to the presenter side so that you can participate in the meeting. So, Chairperson, this is Alma from the clerk's office again. I just sent you another invite to interact live. You need to accept that invite to move over to the presenter side, or I'm going to send you an email with some links that will get you into the meeting as a presenter. But if you accept that request, you can just it'll just move you over to the presenter side.
I see that Tina shows up in attendees 3 times now.
You want me to go? You want me to go in the bedroom and do this? You can watch TV.
Let me try and give her a call.
Let's take this in the bedroom. We're the second on the agenda, so go fast around.
Ms. Holt, I know you can hear me now because we are now recording and broadcasting. I've sent you invites to interact. You need to accept those invites. I don't have a phone number that'll work. Hello. Hi.
Okay, bear with us, everyone. We're working on getting Tina into the meeting. Thank you.
Okay, we couldn't get Member Holt onto the meeting, so she's going to call in. And so if we could just give her a few minutes to get on the line, a few more minutes, please. Thank you. Is that you?
Hello. Hi.
Can you hear me?
Oh, you're all garbly. Say that again.
I said, Member Holt, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, good. I got closer to my microphone. Okay, Ophelia, if you want to go ahead.
Did you address Ophelia, or are you addressing me?
No, I was addressing the clerk. Her name is Ophelia Wilson.
Hi.
Thank you.
Hi,
Hello.
Chairperson
My
Holt. How are
apologies.
you?
I'm
Okay, it happened.
frustrated, but good.
It's okay. We'll get through this. So what we'll do is go ahead and call the meeting to order. And we've already started the broadcast, so we'll call the meeting to order, and then we'll do roll call, and then I'll do my announcements. So if you could do
Okay,
that.
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're officially called to order, and we have the roll call.
I will take roll call now.
Thank you.
So Daniel Bruce, you can respond.
Has Daniel
Did
responded?
you hear me?
Yeah,
Oh, there he
no,
is.
Yes,
now I
this is
do.
Daniel.
Thank you.
Hi, Daniel.
Member Holt, Chairperson
Yes.
Holt.
Yes,
Thank
here.
you. And Vice Chair Garfield and Bill Tubbs. Okay, and the roll call has been called. And so I will do my announcement now, okay?
Okay,
Before
so
we get
who was
started.
who's here? I only heard Daniel.
That is correct. It's you and Daniel.
Oh, just me and
So
Daniel. Okay.
what that means is that this will become an informational meeting, and we won't be able to vote because you need a
Quorum.
3 persons quorum. So you haven't met the
Okay.
quorum with the 2, but we can still go
Okay.
ahead and proceed with the meeting. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So now I'll read the announcement. This meeting is live streamed and temporarily closed to in-person public participation. The clerk's office is in the process of hosting hybrid public meetings that will provide board members and members of the public with the option to participate in the meeting either in person or remotely. Thank you for your patience and support. To make a verbal comment at today's meeting, dial 916-875-2501 to provide your contact information. When the chair opens public comments for a specific agenda item or off-agenda matter, callers will be contacted by phone and transferred into the meeting to make their public comment. Written comments are always accepted. Send your email comment to boardclerk@saccounty.net. Your comment will be routed to the board and filed in the record. And that concludes the announcement.
Thank you. All right, shall we move on to the first item?
Yes, and I can go ahead and read that into Item number 1 is Jaeger tentative parcel map, and it's a tentative parcel map to divide one approximately 9.77 acre parcel in the A5 zone into 2 parcels.
Okay, do we have the presenter of the
Yes.
project?
Hi, this is Gemma Tierney from the Planning and Environmental Review Division.
Thank you, Gemma.
You're welcome. Okay. So yeah, I'm the lead planner on this application for a tentative parcel map. Could you go to the next slide, please? So this project site is located on the east side of Colony Road, about 1,600 feet north of Walmart Road. The approximately 9.99 acre parcel is currently developed as a primary dwelling unit and some accessory structures, such as a detached garage and a pool. Next slide, please. The parcel zoning designation is A5, which is an interim zoning category, and it has the same use standards and largely the same development standards as the agricultural residential 5 or AR5 zoning district. And as you can see on the map, the area to the north, east, and south are also zoned A5, and then across Colony Road to the west is zoned A2, which is another one of these interim zoning categories. Next slide, please.
Okay.
I think it went backwards instead of forwards. Thank you. So this is a map that categorizes the project site, the parcel, and then also the parcels around it within 500 feet of the project site into a series of size ranges based on their total square footage. So it shows basically 3 different colors, and there are, so some of the parcels that are shown within 500 feet of the subject parcel are similarly sized to the proposed parcel sizes. Next slide, please. So some basic site history. According to Sacramento County Parcel Viewer, the house was built in 1980, and there are no prior planning entitlements or code enforcement cases for this parcel. Next slide, please. So this slide lists the requested entitlements. As was mentioned before, one of them is a tentative parcel map to divide this approximately 9.77 acre parcel into 2 parcels. One would be about 5.095 gross acres, and the other one would be about 4.677 gross acres. And the entitlement package also includes a special development permit to allow one of these parcels to be less than 5 gross acres, because 5 gross acres is the minimum parcel size for the A5 zone. And then I should also mention this interim zoning category is in a different part of the zoning code than the other zoning districts. And so there'll actually be another item under the special development permit because one of the parcels does not have any public street frontage. The main part of the zoning code has footnotes allowing a certain number of parcels to not have street frontage, but these interim zones do not have that footnote. So that was something I realized after preparing this slide. And then finally, the entitlement package includes a design review to determine substantial compliance with the Sacramento County countywide design guidelines. Next slide, please. So this is the tentative parcel map, and you can see this parcel extends on the east side of Colony Road, and so the division is a north-south line to create 2 parcels. All of the existing structures are on the parcel that's closest to Colony Road, and then yeah, parcel 2 is behind that parcel 1, and there is a 25-foot wide access easement and public utility easement that's proposed along the northern edge of the front parcel. And so that would provide a way to get to the rear parcel from Colony Road. So it could be developed with a driveway that could extend into the rear parcel if development's proposed there in the future. Next slide, please. So the applicant, we requested the applicant to provide just a conceptual site plan just to ensure that the new proposed undeveloped parcel could be feasibly developed with given the shape and features of the site, so that just to make sure that it could be developed with a house and septic and a well and driveway. And so this is not actually development that's proposed. And yeah, so no development is proposed as part of this parcel map. But this was a site plan showing a potential way of developing it. So this is located behind the front parcel. Next slide, please. So an initial study is being prepared for this project. And to allow staff to prepare that initial study, the applicant provided some technical reports. So they were an arborist report, an aquatic and biological resources assessment, and a cultural resources study. So the environmental analyst is currently reviewing those and working on the initial study. Next slide, please. So some additional information about the proposal. As I mentioned, all existing structures would be on the front parcel, and a 25-foot easement is proposed to provide access from the rear parcel to Colony Road. And no development is proposed as part of this project, but I have shown that conceptual site plan, which is also included in your materials as attachment 7. So that's just a concept, not an actual proposal. Next slide, please. So I should also just mention this afternoon you guys received a public comment or a summary of a phone call public comment in opposition to the project. So hopefully had a chance to review that. And that concludes my presentation. I can take questions. The applicant's engineer is also on the line to answer questions.
Thank you, Gemma. I'm confused now. In your presentation, it says that this is all a conceptual presentation with no planned development at this time.
Yes, the action would just be splitting the parcel.
Oh, okay. And so the planning of the actual development wouldn't happen until those studies came in, the arborist report, the aquatic resources delineation, and the cultural resources study? Is that what I'm to understand now?
No, so those would actually be, that environmental review is actually required just for the parcel split. So yeah, there would be a different process for development to be proposed. So that's not part of the current project.
All right. Are there any other questions from Daniel? Do you have questions?
Well, I'm just wondering what the purpose of splitting this parcel into 2 parcels. Why is this being done at all?
Yeah, I can let the applicant's engineer, Dennis, answer that. Well, yeah, my understanding is they want to sell the rear parcel, so that's why they don't have any specific development plans for it. But yeah, you could want to do it for a number of reasons: to sell it, to give it away, to develop it.
Okay. But you say we're not voting on this tonight, we're just hearing it. So will they bring this back at a different date when we have quorum for a vote?
Good evening. This is Jessica Brandt with the Planning Department, and I just wanted to let both the CPAC members and the applicants know we do have a rule in the bylaws that states that any project that's housing related is only going to come to the CPAC once, regardless of whether there's a quorum. So for the three items that you're hearing or considering tonight, they all unfortunately will move on without an official recommendation, but we still are able to take any individual comments that you and Dan might have, and then we can fold those into our analysis that moves forward.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
No
I would just like to say that in lieu of the fact that this isn't an imminent requirement for an aging parent, as most of these are, then I would be on record as opposed to a pre-sale split of the property, given consideration that there are neighbors who don't want to see this happen. So that's where I stand on it.
I tend to agree with that, and I don't understand how this is considered housing when there's an existing home there and there's no intent to build at this time on the second property.
Since the zoning it is just called agricultural 5, but it's correlated with the agricultural residential 5, so it is a residential zoning district. So any kind of planning entitlement in this area would be related to residential.
Okay, well, I tend to agree with Tina because we have neighbors that are opposed and the CPAC that cannot reach a quorum at this time. I would also be opposed to this.
Okay. Well, I think Ophelia, I know there's
Yes.
not an action to take. So if that's the feedback, then you know certainly that'll be folded into our staff analysis.
Okay, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Okay, we can, any other comments from Chairperson Holt or Mr. Member Bruce?
No, I'm good with what I've entered into the record at this time. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll move on to item number 2, which is Williams Mender ADU. And it's a special development permit to allow a proposed ADU on approximately 4.99 acre parcel.
Okay, and is the presenter ready to present this project?
Yeah, hi, this is Gemma Tierney again. I'm just going to wait for the slideshow to appear, which it just did. Okay, you can advance to the next slide, please. Okay, so this project site is located at 11790 North Valenson Road, and it's about 700 feet east of Colony Road. And so existing site conditions, it's developed as a single family house with an attached garage, a workshop building, a carport, and 3 chicken coops. Next slide, please. Thank you. So like the previous project that we just looked at, this parcel is zoned A5, which is an interim zoning category, and that is also the zoning for the parcels to the north, east, and west, and then the parcel to the south is Ag 20. So the land uses on those surrounding parcels are either single-family residential for two-family residential. Next slide, please. Site history. This parcel was created through a parcel map that was filed in 1987. And then the Sacramento County Parcel Viewer indicates that the house was built around 1990, and there are no recent code enforcement cases and no other planning entitlements other than that parcel map. Next slide, please. So the present entitlement request is for a special development permit to allow the ADU that's proposed to exceed the 1,000 square feet maximum habitable size permitted for ADUs with more than one bedroom. So the project proposes a habitable size of 1,197 square feet, and the zoning code does allow for requesting a increase in ADU size up to 1,200 square feet through a special development permit process. There's also a component that's under the same umbrella of this special development permit relating to the amount of non-habitable square footage on the parcel. And so for a parcel of this size, there's a zoning requirement that the non-habitable accessory structure square footage cannot exceed the amount of habitable square feet in the primary dwelling, which is a little bit confusing. But so this one, because it has the workshop and the carport building, that's already some non-habitable square feet. And then this ADU will have a 166 square foot porch, which, because it doesn't have walls, it's also considered non-habitable. And so adding that to the carport and the workshop brings the total non-habitable square feet to above the size of the house's habitable square feet. So sorry, that's a kind of convoluted thing, but that's another aspect of the special development permit. Next slide, please. Okay, so we're looking at the site plan now, and it's oriented so Valenson Road's at the top. That the drawing was originally shifted 90 degrees, so the text is sideways. So yeah, you can see Valenson Road along the top, and you can see the proposed ADU towards the left, and then the existing house towards the right end of the parcel, or the east end. And you can see that there is a new driveway proposed on that left or west end to provide access from the ADU to North Valenson Road. Next slide, please. So this is the floor plan of the ADU, which I'm mostly showing just to indicate that it does have 2 bedrooms, which allows for this special development permit request to go up to 1,200 square feet. Next slide, please. And then here are the elevations, just to show that this ADU is 15 feet tall, 1 story. Next slide, please. Okay, so the environmental review is currently being conducted. The document has not been determined yet, but so far it seems like it will be a notice of exemption. We haven't received any information to the contrary, but the environmental analyst is still working on it. Next slide, please. So the decision body for this special development permit is the zoning administrator. The subject parcel is about 5 acres in size, and it is currently served by well and septic, and this ADU will be served by a new well and a new septic system. And then, as I had mentioned, there's a new driveway proposed closer to the ADU that will connect it to North Valenson Road. Next slide, please. So that concludes my presentation, and I can answer questions, and the engineer and one of the people from the applicant team are also on the line. Thank you.
Okay, well, this all looks straightforward, and my only concerns would be to make sure to mind the setbacks for existing well and septic in relation to the addition of the new well and septic, that we don't have fouled water issues. Otherwise, I don't see anything out of character for the proposal. Daniel?
Yeah, I tend to agree with Tina's assessment. I don't see any problem with this.
Okay, thank you for your comments.
All right. Is anybody on the line that wishes to comment on this?
I'm Ken Eaton.
Chairperson Holt,
Oh,
we do not have any public comments for this item.
Okay.
Oh,
Daniel, what were you
okay.
saying?
I believe that's
Daniel?
the applicant.
Oh,
Mr. Eaton, did you want to
Hello?
speak? Hello, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment that um, we appreciate everybody coming to the meeting, and it looks like we don't have anybody with any issues, and so hopefully we can move on successfully to the end of this project and
yes.
get these people moved in. We're
Yes.
excited about it.
All right. Well, very good. Thank you for your time.
Uh-huh.
And just stating for the record of going backwards for item 1, there was no public comment on that also. So
Okay.
moving
Thank
forward,
you.
I did fail to mention that.
All right. Appreciate the clarification. All right.
And
Shall we move to our third item?
sure, item 3 is Falls House ADU. It's a special development permit to allow proposed ADU on approximately 4.84 acre parcel.
Okay. Do we have our presenter available?
Yes, this is me again,
Hi, Jim.
Gemma. Yeah. So yeah, this is Gemma Tierney again from planning. You can go to the next slide, please. Okay, so this project is located at 11890 Walmart Road, and it's about 2,500 feet east of Colony Road. And so the existing conditions are that it's developed as a single-family house with an attached garage and 2 detached carports. Next slide, please. So the zoning for this parcel is Ag 20 or agricultural 20 acres. And you can see that's the zoning category for to the south and west, and then there's the A5 interim zoning category to the east and north. And the surrounding land use for all of those adjacent parcels is single family residential. Next slide, please. The house was built around 1976, and there are no prior planning entitlements or code enforcement cases associated with the parcel. Next slide, please. So this entitlement request is similar to the last one. But it's just for the size of the ADU. So it's a special development permit to allow the proposed project to deviate from that maximum square footage of 1,000 square feet. So this is a 2-bedroom ADU. So they're requesting the special development permit to go up to, in this case, 1,139 square feet. So under the 1,200 maximum. Next slide, please. So this is the site plan. The proposed ADU is the darker gray box, so it's located sort of in the above the existing house in this drawing. So this drawing's oriented. So Regal is at the top and Walmart is to the side, to the left side. And the house, and it will be using the same driveway that the house is using. Next slide, please. And then again, this is the floor plan indicating that it's a 2-bedroom ADU, so it can go to 1,000 feet by right or 1,200 feet through a special development permit request. Next slide, please. And then, yeah, these are the elevations just once again demonstrating the height of the ADU, which will be 14 feet 10 inches. Next slide, please. So this environmental review will be an exemption. It was undetermined. Slides were prepared, but I've learned that it will be exempt from CEQA. Next slide, please. And so finally, some general points. The decision body is the zoning administrator. The parcel is about 4.84 acres. It's currently served by well and septic. The ADU is proposed to be served by the existing well and then a new septic system. And as I mentioned, the existing gravel driveway is going to serve the ADU, so it will connect both the house and the ADU to Walmart Road. Next slide, please. So yeah, that concludes my presentation, and again, the applicant is on the line, so we can both answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Gemma. Well, this all looks pretty straightforward. I don't see any significant concerns. It's certainly consistent with what's occurring in the neighborhood. Has the fire department given their input about what they need for driving in and turning around in case of emergency responses?
Yeah, they have reviewed this. I don't remember what their specific comments were, but they have reviewed it, and their comments have been transmitted to the applicant.
Okay.
The Wilton Fire Department, sorry.
Oh, that's all right. Please continue.
The Wilton Fire Department came through, and when I originally started the permit over a year ago, and they came through and said everything was fine when they signed off on it.
Excellent. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
All right. Well, I'm feeling fine with this. Daniel, what's your input?
I'm just a little bit confused about one thing. Did I hear earlier that this area is zoned Ag 20?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, I think years ago that was not adhered to, and we have the Mod Podge that we're ending up with.
Okay, well, does this constitute a zoning adjustment because of that? I mean, if it's zoned Ag 20 now, how can we move to Ag Res 5?
Good point.
It would say Ag 20. I think I might have mentioned Ag Res 5 for the last one because that one had the interim zoning category that's very similar to Ag Res 5.
Yeah, we're just confused as to at what time in the timeline of history did this Ag 20 get carved up and no longer used for Ag, but Ag Res in a smaller variation.
Okay, because of the size of the parcel. Yeah, I didn't find any entitlements for recent subdivisions in our records.
Yes, this is Jessica. Before the Subdivision Map Act was enforced, there were a lot of folks that would deed off portions of their property to family members and record the deed, and then that would create a new property. So it's not allowed now, but in a lot of areas you'll see that. And so this, I imagine, is one of those old deeded properties that still has that Ag 20 zoning. It's considered legally non-conforming, so obviously you can't get any smaller. But you can ask in the Ag 20 zoning district and on a legal parcel to add a second unit. So that's what they're doing here.
Okay, I see how that's consistent. Just lost my train of thought. Oh, well, Daniel, do you have more input while I try to figure out where I was going with that thought?
Well, yeah, I'm just a little concerned that what we're doing is setting up this what was a 20-acre lot that is now taking a portion of it and moving it into 5 acres or just under 5 acres. And we're going to be set up so that in the future, the rest of the 20-acre lot is going to end up being broken up again into 3 more 5-acre lots. Is that something that anybody else is concerned about?
I'm concerned about it because I don't like to see the large parcels parceled down smaller. Unfortunately, so many of them have tumbled through before enforcement of the zoning maps got interested in, for lack of a better way to state it. But this project, everything is staying up near the house. It's adjacent, which is, if people are going to bring family members onto their property, I personally like to see them just add like a casita onto the existing house. And this is fairly close to doing that, instead of going way out to the back 5 and saying, I'm going to throw the parents out down here at the other end of the property, which then makes it much more easier to run a lot split and really carve these places up.
I guess my concern is this going to change the property from an agricultural property to a residential property and allow for a full split up of the existing 20 acres? I'm not really inclined to have that much more population density out here.
I agree. This was once a 20, but it's not a 20 now. Is that what I'm understanding? It was already parceled off in family deeding a long time ago? Is that what the language says?
That's correct. Yes.
So
Yeah, this
hasn't been a
particular,
20.
right. Yeah, this is not starting with 20. This is starting with 5 and staying with 5.
Okay.
Or 4.88, whatever it is.
All right. That's what I understood it to be, because even with the addition of the house, the entire residential land right now is not a 20-acre parcel. It just happened to be in a 20-acre zoning years and years ago.
Yes, it's still that zoning, but it was, carved up before we were regulating it. So it was divided by a deed.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it hasn't been a 20 for quite a while, from what I understand.
Correct. Yeah. So the zoning was a bit of a mismatch.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So do you understand that one, Daniel?
Yeah, I understand that one, but what I'm concerned about is that property has now been split up, and maybe it was split up several years ago. I'm not sure when it was split, but now with the split, we're opening up the whole area. All of the existing 20-acre properties may also have to change their designation to an Ag-Res 5. And it sounds to me like we're circumventing the process for changing the property sizes there.
Yeah, so we wouldn't be changing the size of the parcel, and actually, even though other parcels here are also zoned Ag 20, it doesn't look like any of them are 20 acres anymore either. So the zoning's remaining the same, the size of the parcels are remaining the same, but yes, they're legally non-conforming.
Right. And as I'm looking at the lot planning site, the overhead photograph, and in relation to where they want to set down the ADU, it's up next to the house. So that can't be split, because that clearly would make too small of a parcel that's illegal and non-conforming and just not allowed. So it's not technically a split. It's just placement of a house on an already split property. I think that's what I'm understanding this to be.
That's correct, yeah. It would be the
Okay.
accessory dwelling unit to the primary
Right.
dwelling unit, but they would have the same, would be on the same legal parcel.
Okay. All right. Do you understand that, Daniel? I mean, I understand what you're saying about I don't want to see any large parcels getting turned into urban development neighborhoods, because that would kill the character, and plus it'd put too much strain on the resources out here, water, and then of course it'd be completely flying in the face of all this clean air talk. You know, if you start dumping cars and neighbors out here like crazy, then you completely kill the carbon sequestering properties of open space and large estate properties. So, I mean, I'm fully on board with where you're coming from in that point of view, Daniel.
Yeah, I just wanted to point this out, have it part of the records so that when it goes to the planning committee, they have a little more information to go with. Since we're not going to be able to vote on it today anyway.
Right. I agree. I think we're on the same page when it comes to, you know, our understanding and what the ultimate desire for maintaining rural living is supposed to be about. Okay, well, that's all I've got on this matter.
And just noting that we don't have any public comment at this time.
Okay, thank you.
This is the applicant. What does this mean to what we're trying to do?
I'm sorry, say again, please.
What does this have to do with what I'm trying to do right now? So my property zoned as Ag 20 right now, and it should be zoned as Ag 5.
Right, if it's not a 20-acre parcel.
Yeah. But that, I mean, that has nothing to do with me. I bought the property like that.
No, we understand. This is probably, I guess, what I should clarify for you, sir, is that this is more of a conversation about community desires and having the county ear at this moment tonight on matters like this for future discussion and planning. So no, what your project is, I mean, it's completely conforming to what's happening, and I don't see any problem with it.
Oh, okay. Then we're all good. I just wasn't completely understanding. Thank you for the clarification.
Absolutely, sir.
So they're just talking about it.
All right, and so are we going to move on to our last item of the night?
Sure, we can go to item 4. It's information relating to Senate Bill 9, requirements to allow 2 primary dwellings on 1 parcel to provide for ministerial processing of 2-lot tentative parcel maps and to address expirations of tentative map approvals.
Okay, now, am I to understand that this is mostly for the urban planning area?
Yeah, this is Jessica with planning, and it is. I think this will be fairly rare that it would affect any of the communities in the southeast community area. Perhaps around Galt, but for the most part, yeah, they have they're their own city. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
so it's I'm going to go through the presentation here for you guys, and I know, unfortunately, Chairperson, you can't see the slides, but I have kind of a script, so I'll just read from that. And yeah, it's mainly for residentially zoned properties that are like RD zone instead of AR. This doesn't count for AR or AG.
Right,
yeah.
All right, and those would still be within the urban services boundary, not out here on rural services?
Yeah, it doesn't specify about the urban services boundaries, but there's some there's some rules related to like census communities, let me run through this real
Yeah.
quick. Yeah.
Thank you.
So let's go ahead and move to the next slide, please. So in September, Governor Newsom signed SB 9, which has three main components. So first, it allows by right development of two homes or primary dwellings. So they wouldn't be considered a primary and a secondary anymore. They'd both be primary on a single lot within single family residential zones. And I'll get into what we have interpreted that to mean in a minute. Second, property owners can split one lot into two lots by right, and again with some specific restrictions. And then third, tentative maps can be approved for 4 years rather than 3. And then there's a note that a property can do both splitting a lot and then placing two homes on the created lots as well under this new rule. All the provisions are exempt from CEQA, and then, like I said, have certain requirements that must be met, and they became effective on January 1st. So in preparation for that, in December, late December, the board introduced some county code amendments and updates to our zoning code user guide to be able to process requests that come through under this SB 9 rule. And part of the discussion at the hearing was that staff committed to attending all the CPAC meetings to discuss the new state laws. So just so you guys are aware and you can respond to folks in the community too. Next slide. So unfortunately you can't see the slide, Chair, but this is a slide that includes a kind of an overlay map that shows where this rule would take effect.
Actually, I do have that up on my screen.
Do you have that? Perfect. Okay. Yeah. So in order for a property owner to take advantage of these laws, there's a two-part test. There's location and zoning. So the first part of the test is that the properties must be located in a single-family residential zoning district. So it doesn't mean that all zoning districts that allow for single-family are part of that, but rather the zoning districts that are primarily for the development of single-family homes. And that's sort of where the SB 9 information stops. So county staff concluded that the provision applies to our RD1 through RD10 zoning districts, as well as potentially properties located in some of our special planning areas and neighborhood preservation areas that have a single family residential underlying zone. So that's sort of that first part of the test. The second part is that it would need to be on properties located in an urbanized area or urban cluster as identified by the U.S. Census Bureau. So the map, highlights the eligible areas. So you can see, for Southeast, you're really looking at, like I said, basically
Galt.
Around Galt. There may be a few properties that are in the unincorporated area that are adjacent to Galt that are RD zone. I don't think so, but there might be one or two. So for the most part, this won't affect the Southeast area, but good to know so that you can tell people.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So let's see here. So let's go ahead and go to slide 4. So in addition to the location and zoning requirements, there are some other key provisions of the law that I should mention. The request for the two homes or lot splits are handled administratively. I think I mentioned that before, and they're not subject to CEQA. Requests can be denied, but only if the building official finds that public health and safety would be compromised, which is a very high bar. There are very limited conditions that can be applied, you need to have an easement for access, some parking, and you can condition to prohibit short-term rentals of the properties, which we intend to do. Let's see what else we have. There are, along with the splits and the allowance for a second home, SB 9 did include some reductions of development standards. So, for instance, similar to the accessory dwelling units, the rules for that came through a while back, the county can't provide or can't require side or rear yard setbacks of more than 4 feet. And then for parcel splits, the minimum lot size can be as small as 1,200 square feet. I should note that a key provision of the law relating to lot splits is that the property owner must sign an affidavit stating that they will live in one of the properties for 3 years. So the idea is that this should be, an on-site property owner who is splitting the property and, allowing for additional home development. Next slide, please. So we will be processing these lot splits similar to how we process lot splits currently. A lot of the same technical review needs to happen, so we will still bring lot splits through our project review committee, get the technical review from the different agencies, and then because these are administratively permitted, there would not be a CPAC, they wouldn't be brought to the CPACs to receive comment and recommendation, but there would be at least a courtesy notice when an application is filed that is sent to surrounding property owners and CPAC members. So at least there's an awareness that one of these applications has been filed.
Okay.
And then again, with the administrative approval, that approval lands with our planning director. And so that's who would decide these maps rather than what usually happens, which is either our subdivision review committee or our planning commission. There is an ability to appeal, but likely we're still trying to figure this one out. It looks like it would only be an applicant contesting conditions. So there would not be an avenue for neighbors to appeal if they did not like the lot split. And then that, if there was an appeal, it would be considered by our Board of Zoning Appeals. Next slide. So the 2 homes on 1 lot request, our intent is to initially use the recently approved ADU development standards for a second dwelling request on a property. They seem to track well with the law, the 4-foot side and rear setbacks. We have to allow at least an 800 square foot second dwelling. So tracking it with the current allowance for 850 or 1,000 square feet for ADUs seemed appropriate. And then we would also include the restrictions on height and front yard setbacks and attached accessory structure square footage. That would all be part of the review of a second dwelling unit here. I don't anticipate too many of these. I think it's actually cheaper to build a second house as an ADU if you're not going to go above 1,000 square feet. You get a lot more bonuses as far as being able to not have to pay impact fees and the like, which you don't get under this SB 9 provision. We've seen a few of the splits already. I haven't seen any of these second homes. So, but it's part of the law, so it's good for you guys to know about. Next slide. And yeah, so that's sort of the 5-minute tour. We are doing this for a CPAC roadshow. I think I'm wrapping it up here. And then over the next few months, we expect to receive more guidance from the state on SB 9 as the different jurisdictions kind of work through implementation and questions come up. Usually the State Housing and Community Development Department will come up with guidelines, and so that may, require us to do a little bit of tweaking as we move forward, but we're keeping an eye on that. And then we do have a zoning code amendment package that's already been going through related to some other kind of housing fast track work that we're trying to do. Again, more in the urban areas, but these changes are being looped into that since we already have that package going through. And then we'll be bringing that package to the Planning Commission and the board over the next few months as well. So you may, again, see some of that come through, and then also the courtesy notices if there do happen to be some of these RD lots floating around down there that someone wants to split. So with that, that's my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you guys might have.
Okay, well, is the avoidance of leapfrog sprawl still part of the general plan as it had been in the revisions a few years ago?
Yeah, this doesn't it doesn't appear to conflict with that because it does keep with those census designated urban areas. So that was a concern that we had at first was, oh, this is going to, anywhere we have single family housing, they can split these properties. This is going to be insane. But it looks like restricting it to those RD zones was acceptable to the state. And so we moved forward with that. So, so that I think takes some of that concern away, at least for me.
Okay, and is this future allowances, are they dovetailing with the South Sacramento Habitat Conservation Plan to avoid encroachment in what they're trying to do to keep contiguous open spaces?
That's a good question. I think the areas that the South Sac Habitat Conservation Plan have sort of earmarked for their preserve, the like you say, that continuous preserve system, are all, I believe, at least agriculturally zoned. There might be some agricultural residential zoning, but there shouldn't be any residential zoning that would end up being developed under this that would impact what they're doing out there.
Okay,
it may actually provide them more funding as people go into, for instance, South Sacramento and split properties. They'll be subject to paying into the fees. So might end up helping them out a little bit, actually.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Okay,
Daniel,
we have no public oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I just wondered, Daniel, do you have any input or anything you want on record regarding the presentation?
No, I don't think so. It doesn't sound like this is going to impact our CPAC area very much.
I agree. Thank you, Daniel.
Okay, and for the record, there's no public comment at this time.
Right. All right, thank you. So are we concluded for the evening then?
Actually, we have a couple more items. There's item 5, which says officer elections. And we will have to move that to our next meeting because of not having a quorum. And then item 6 would be staff update, if you have any.
I don't think so.
And then the other would be council member comments, item 7.
I've pretty much made my comments.
Okay.
That counts for the night.
And just for the record, we have no additional public comments. And then the final would be the adjournment.
All right. Well, Daniel, do you have anything else to add for the night?
No, I think I'll move to adjourn.
Thank you, sir. I'll second that, and we are adjourned. Thank you, staff.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a
Thank
good
you.
evening.
Have a good night.
Bye.